There's a 12-year-old born in 2002 and a 12-year-old born in 1968. I mean, birth to a 12-year-old then. So it'll work by the omitted variable. You can specify more commands later, but it typically, the by sort command works for one variable you have. So if you have like 20 variables, pick one to sort by. There are other ways you can use to have it sort first by one variable, then another, and we can talk about those after or later if you want, or email me and I can talk about how that works. But this is the simplest way to sort of view your data. So here's what we know. We know that what we've done in appending the data sets and using the dummy variables works. Because we know that we have data both from the year 2002 and the year 1968. So, great. So because this is the last workshop session, what we're going to do now is to talk about a do file. We're going to go over it line by line, make sure we get those things, and then finish up by talking about random number generator. Are there any questions about the by sort command or the append command before we move on? Okay, so you can find the appendix you can find the do file we're talking about on page 6 of the handout, appendix B. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go line by line around the room and talk about what each line of the data file does. So I'm going to move left, start with Lori. The first line indicated and highlighted here. What is that?
That is a comment.
All right, great. That just tells something about the data file, which is tricky things. Christina, next line.
Make sure that nothing is in memory so you can do fresh commands and not have it screw up with your past data.
Excellent. That's right. Steven, you're next.
I think that tells you what, that tells STATA where to look for the data, what folder to look for it.
Absolutely. Gwendolyn?
In sheet? Is that
No, capture log close. Is this highlighted up there?
Oh, I'm not sure.
So captured log close, much like the clear command, makes certain that nothing is in memory in terms of logging. So you can start a whole new log. It doesn't append to the bottom of the log. It doesn't replace a log. It just says stop any logging you're doing now and let's start over. So I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
John.
John, what's next?
Creating a log.
Okay. And what's the log name going to be?
Combined data set .text.
Okay. And what happens after the comma? What does that mean?
I think the text, I'm not sure why we write text. That was in the last one too.
Okay. That's a good question. So the reason we write text is STATA has a default format for writing log files, a proprietary format. I'm not even sure what the appendix is. But in order to make sure that you can read it more easily and you can send it to people who maybe don't have STATA to see it, if you type in text, it forces STATA to write it out in text. And the last thing here, replace, simply overwrites. But if there's something with the same file name, combined data set.txt, it'll just overwrite it, so you don't have to worry about what to do. Recall that in addition to replace, the other command you can use is append. Just like the other append command, it'll add it onto the bottom of your log file in case you're continuing from an exercise you did before. So Shaheen, you're next with this line.
In sheet, I think it's stating which data file to import.
And we use the in-sheet command here because we're putting in a comma-separated value sheet. We're not using a native STATA data set. You can tell that two ways. One, STATA will refuse to do it if you use the use command. And two, the extension .csv here makes clear that it's a comma-separated values or flat sheet. I'll take the next one. We then generate a dummy variable, year 2002, which is a value of 1. When that's true, and we're doing it only for the 2002 data set. So, Lori, back to you, the next line.
Okay, so then you save that data set with the new variable with a new name, and you replace that if you already have it.
Great. Christina, next.
It clears your memory.
Steven, what do you have now?
That combines the 1968 data into the... Wait, I'm sorry. I got that one wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know what in-sheet does.
We'll come back to you. Gwendolyn, in-sheet?
What shall I say?
Which is a good answer.
I was still trying to get my data.
Yeah.
Any ideas about
I'm
anybody?
done year 2002.
That's okay. What, anybody know what the in-sheet command means?
Use a non-STATA data set.
That's right, and import it.
Right.
So you can use a comma separated value sheet. There are other kinds of things. You could use a plain text file. So the reason for the repetition is so you can just recognize these commands when writing your own do file. So, Stephen, gen year 2002 equals 0.
That means just generate a dummy variable for year 2002 that's equal to 0.
And we're doing that because?
Because we want to be able to sort the data from 1968 and the data from 2002 and put them all in the same.
Okay. When? To save?
You save it as a file that's the combination of the two.
I'm sorry, you save it?
You save it as a new file, replacing it with the new variable that you created.
Yep. Okay, John, we're going to jump to here.
Set more off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
So set more off is the opposite command of set more on. And all that says is STATA will tend to stop after each screen unless you turn set more off. And when you write more complex data files, you want to make sure that you set it off if you don't want to see every intermediate step and have to escape or enter a spacebar every time. So it's always a good idea to write that into more complex data sets as you get more comfortable not having to see all the output from STATA. So, Shaheen, we're now on to this bracket right here. Those are both you.
So we are generating new variables. Teenage mom is 1 if the mother is equal to or less than 19. And 1 if it's 2002.
That's
We're
right.
replacing it. Oh, okay, so we're replacing teenage mom with 0 if it's greater than 19. Or, yeah, greater than 19.
Right, so the key restrictor here is that we are working with the new combined data set, NAT combined, that we're using 2 different conditional statements. After the if command, we have the first restrictor for the age of mom we're looking at, and then we restrict it only to those observations within the same data set for which the year 2002 is yes or true. So we can do that within a data set, and this is another way of sort of doing the different thing of comparing data from the 68 and 2002 data set. You've added in this dummy variable. Yes, Lori, question?
Okay, I'm sorry, but so if it's from the 68 data set and therefore year 2002 is 0, is it that is teenage mom of 2 then missing because you haven't defined it?
Well, you're generating a new variable, right?
Right, but that variable has to have a value for.
Oh yeah, will it be missing? So you're asking basically.
You've set it equal to 1 for age
You're right. So
19
you're saying
and
this shouldn't be
under.
there. Wait a second.
No, I'm wondering what happens. Okay, so you've got basically 4 conditions. Age 19 and over, year 2001 is 1, 2002 is 1. Same with 2002 is 0, but then you've also got, you know what I mean, there's 4 conditions.
Yes.
But you've only defined 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't that the other one the next?
You're right, and I'll show you why you're both right. Right.
No, but the next one uses a different variable name, so that's not.
Yeah, which is why I said you're both right. So what Lori's pointing out is that there are in fact 4 conditions that could apply to any of these variables given the restrictors I'm using here. We have conditions where, yes, it comes from the 2002 data set, and yes, the person is less than 19 years old. We also have a condition on the opposite side across the age dimension, whereby, the second condition, whereby it comes from 2002, and the data set is from 2002 older than 19. So not a teenage mother. So we actually have 4 conditions in. My mistake, and Lori's right to point this out, in writing this data file, is that I've only specified these 2 quadrants here.
Yeah.
So we have missing values for those here which could or could not mess up our data depending on what it is we want to find. So that's a very astute point. And the way to solve this then is, do you have anybody have any ideas about how to solve this?
Go to the next step.
No, you write 2 more lines. So it would be generate teenage mom of 2 equals whatever you want, right? If the age is less than or equal to 19 in year 2000.